Hello, fellow baggers, and welcome back to Blue Baggers Edge. And we are here, of course, to review the clash against Port Adelaide, where we were victorious to the tune of 54 points. A very refreshing watch, that is for sure. So let's have a quick look at the scoreline. And it was Carlton 18-10, 118 to Port Adelaide 9-10, 64. And geez, it was, as I said, refreshing because I think this is probably the best that I've seen us play since our win against potentially North Melbourne, which seems like months ago, and probably was, because since then we've kind of fallen away in an absolute heap. And, I guess we've questioned at times the intent, the desire, such as been the, the low quality of effort that we've seen in recent weeks and for quite some time now. So to see them come out and dish this up to Port Adelaide, and it was a completely different team. It was really a performance that all the boys can hold their heads high for, and just a very, very unexpected. From the first bounce until the final siren, it was really a consistent performance across the board. So as I spoke about in the preview episode, it was the sort of performance that, I was asking for us to bottle up the performance that we had against Gold Coast in the last quarter when we played with intent, we played with dare, we went through the corridor, and I asked us in the preview to bottle that up and dish that up to Port Adelaide, because if we could, we would come away with a very, very solid victory, and that we did. So it was great to see. It really was great to see. But I think in terms of, we'll go through the stats and whatnot in a moment, but I think for me, the tackling pressure was something that really stuck out. It was elite across the board, hunting in packs to great effect, and really allowed Port Adelaide very little room to move, and really, I think, showed them up for how uncertain they were at, a lot of stages there when they had the ball in hand. They didn't know how to dispose of it because we just closed them down so effectively. And, it wasn't just one or two players. It was set up. It was really a support net almost that, one player goes into tackle, the other one falls back, make sure that they're manning up on an opponent and, not allowing the Port player with the ball to have options to dish the ball out to, and creating that pressure across the board, not just by that player that is putting pressure on the player with the ball, but also, as I said, just, players in the vicinity there, making sure that they're allowing pressure on their opponent to, force turnovers. And that's virtually something that stuck out to me from across the board for the four quarters. And, we really, in terms of that pressure, ran at Port a lot of the time, making them retreat backwards and, holding tight on opponents in the vicinity, taking away, as I said, the get out option and causing the turnover on numbers. So it makes me wonder, where has this setup been? Has this something that we've been, just implementing at training in recent, over the past couple of weeks? Because it's a style of game that I've been wanting to see for a long, long while. And you hate to say it, but it really does remind me of, 2023, that last half against Gold Coast that turned our season around for 2023 and saw us go on that run that, catapulted us into the prelim final. So, and back then as well, it was Voss was under pressure, and he kind of only being under pressure then forced himself to change things up and allowed the players to have a bit more freedom in terms of ball movement, not just hugging hugging the wings, but also using the corridor and, changing and mixing things up, being unpredictable. And, Port was really caught out of position so often, and we exposed them with, quick ball use at times, but also, as I said, refreshing in terms of going quick when we wanted to and when we, needed to expose Port on turnover, and then being patient as well. If there weren't options in in terms of getting the ball on turnover, just holding it and waiting for a lead to come. Just patient, methodical, type setup and ball movement, which was incredible. And, hitting up, if need be, 25-meter leads and, not just bombing it to packs. So maintaining possession, being quick, but also being patient at the same time. So it was a nice little, chemistry there across the game. But, best of all, I think, was moving the ball, how I've been pleading for us to play endlessly for a long, long while now. And that's shifting the ball onto the fat side of the ground and then taking a 45, degree kick into the middle to either use the corridor or the opposing wing. Play with dare, play with variability and unpredictability because, by and large, a lot of us who have been critiquing Voss and hasn't been a fan of his game style, that's the one mark that he has against him is the fact that he's so predictable, doesn't allow the players to change things up and, instill a style of game that will leave opposition players, also the coach, guessing. So was really refreshing to see there. And praise be the Lord. The other thing I've been asking for a long while, Harry as a stay-at-home full forward. Stop having him drift up out of forward 50 so often as that marking option and then having no genuine key forward to kick to. I don't mind seeing it once in a while, but by and large, he was at home, he was against Aliir, and geez, he was marking everything and provided us that sole key forward that we've been crying out for. Previously, we've had Harry playing more often than not that high half forward role. Charlie's been the stay-at-home full forward, which does not work. Those roles should be flipped. Harry's the more bustling, bulking, traditional full forward. Harry's the more aerobic, player who's very flighty, great mark at its highest point, and, great speed off the mark. So is this potentially an awakening for Voss and the wider coaching team that this is the setup that we should have? And we had, Hudson O'Keefe in that high half forward role, pushing up the ground. Great hands as well, this youngster, and love to see some of the plays that he had during this game. But it was just that role. And, when Charlie returns for next season, I hope that we stick with this style. Harry at full forward, Charlie pushing up the ground a bit more, but also, not too far to the point where he's not able to run back on turnover, which has been a classic case of issues and errors with that game plan because we've had, Charlie being pushed into actual defensive 50. And then when the ball's on turnover, he's not able to run forward of the ball quick enough to then provide an option inside forward 50. So we need to really get that down pat. And I think here was a nice little sign without Charlie, of course, but a nice sign of what the setup should be with Harry, more often than not, a stay-at-home full forward. So praise be the Lord for that. Now, I want to just touch on a few points here and players and, moments that stuck out to me. So I spoke about it there inside, forward 50 kicking and stuff, but ultra refreshing there because beautiful composure from a number of players, numerous moments, delivery inside forward 50. So Lord was one of those in the second quarter. There was a passage of play there where he opted not to blaze away at the goals and instead looked 45 degrees, hit Cripps lace out, who kicked truly. So that sort of stuff, unselfish play, playing for each other and looking for the best option, not just panicking under pressure, but looking for the best option. So it seems to be a progression and development in our game, which I know it's only been really one game and maybe a quarter and a half, if that, in recent rounds. But there's small signs here of things that are being tested out, and it's late in the piece. And I know the season's done and dusted, but it's just I am walking away from this game. Yes, I'm happy with the victory, but it's the style of victory. Walsh spoke about it post game. It's the method behind it all. It's not just the outcome; it's the process. And what I'm seeing here in terms of the process and the way that we are winning is very, very pleasing, without getting too carried away, of course. But just some key players here. Now, Harry, of course, have to speak of him. First up, 7 goals. Wow, just incredible. Outmuscled Aliir for strength and positioning, and he was marking absolutely everything. Lace out on the lead, hospital balls onto his head. Just a brilliant day out for Harry. And, really love seeing him play on supreme confidence. Again, to use that word and overuse it, but refreshing, because it's this type of Harry that we haven't seen for a little while. And when he's playing with confidence, he can kick them from anywhere and he can mark the ball more often than not when he's, not at his best. But when he's at his best, geez, it's like he's got glue in his hands. And he was just an absolute beast throughout the day. And we'll pull up the stats here as we're going through them. But as you can see here, Harry, 7 goals, 21 disposals, which is massive for a full forward, of course. 6 marks, 2 tackles, 2 hitouts, and 3 clearances. We'll go through, of course, Wheelo ratings for the more intensive breakdowns for the players and score involvements and everything else as well. But the other guy we want to talk about here, and it was, Georgie Hewitt, he was incredible. Again, arguably, best on ground, if not equal best on ground alongside this next guy I'm going to talk about. But he gave us first use. He was the player in the trenches alongside Cripper, who did, a power of the work. 35 disposals, 3 marks, 4 tackles, 11 clearances. A really, really great day out by Georgie Hewitt, and should be leading the best and fairest, and probably should take that out this season, because he has been absolutely incredible. Now, the man I want to talk about here is Sammy Walsh. 28 disposals. Unfortunately, kicked 2 behinds. That's kind of the only blip on his game. Probably should have kicked one of those 2 at the very least, but still, around the ground, incredible. 4 marks, 5 clearances, 403 metres gained, and 2 goal assists as well. But for me, it was his dash, the run, and spread out of stoppages, which was absolutely elite, and reminded me, and I think us watching, how much we've missed him. Thankfully, again, another thing I've been calling week after week with regards to Walshy, when he's been a topic of discussion is, and I spoke about it in the preview episode, I was saying, Vossi, play him, allow him to play more of an outside game, because that's the role that he excels in, and that's the role that earned him, being awarded as the best finals player in 2023. When he has the time to, kick and make passes, his kicking is actually sublime, absolutely sublime. He was given time, given space, and really freedom of movement as well, which was great to see. But what he offered us outside of speed, dash, he was always trying to find ways to continue moving the ball through quick handballs. And so, so many times, I think was confident enough as well to sidestep opponents, which is absolutely amazing in a return game, especially given the run of injuries that he has had in recent times. And for me, the classic bit of play was early in the third quarter. Walsh streaming through the middle, gets a handball receive and then proceeds to hit Moyer lace out on the lead for a shot on goal. And the other thing that stuck out was the nimbleness of him. Halfway through I think it was the fourth quarter, turning 360 whilst Dan stepping out of traffic and handballing wide to Cripper, allowing him the space out into the open to run into. It was really a sight to behold. It was a Walsh that we've been craving to see for a long, long while. Looked super fit and played with a freedom of movement that really did put a smile on my face, because I am confident seeing this, that he's in the perfect mindset that speaks to me the fact that he is so confident in his body, where he's at. He's not in his shell, which I thought he may have been on return, managed minutes potentially, but he was incredible. Absolutely incredible. Like 66% time on ground as well. To have 28 disposals, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. So for me, alongside Georgie Boy, he was an absolute feature in the middle. So tip of the old cap to you, Walshy. You're one of my faves, and it put a massive smile on my face to see you looking super fit and being able to move with such freedom, nimbleness, and confidence. So great work there. Cripper as well. Just speaking off the back of Walshy, I think, Cripper's ability to push forward and kick some crucial goals, helped expose Port's mids, offensively, and made them play a bit more defensive. And I think that freedom was allowed off the back of the inclusion of Walsh back into the team. And that's what I think has kind of been lacking in 2025, and 2024 was a bit of a feature as well, but he hasn't been having that ability to go forward and really impact the scoreboard as he has, previous seasons. The 2 years that he won the Brownlow, that was a big feature of his game going forward and impacting the scoreboard. So it was really great to see. Hudson O'Keefe, now great leap and hands, super promising prospect, just knows where to run into the right positions. And from what we've seen, limited sample size, I think he could be. I mean, he is quite raw still in terms of his physicality, needs to put on size, hit the gym. But from what we've seen, geez, he shows extreme promise. So, Pitnet, is he still relegated to, second fiddle? TDK is probably out the door, and I'll speak to him in a moment. But, Hudson O'Keefe, what he's shown, just leaps and bounds in terms of his development at senior level, which is, I think ahead of the time frame that I had him coming in out of the VFL for. So he's blown me away. So tip of the cap to you as well, big fella. And speaking of the other big fella, so TDK. So this was, again, to borrow that overused phrase, refreshing to see TDK look to be playing with confidence, freedom, for the first time in a long, long while. Showed, most importantly, heart and passion. And even though, yes, I still think he's off to the Saints, he'd be silly to turn down that money, and I don't begrudge him in any way, shape, or form. But I really do appreciate him, playing out his time in the Navy Blue the way that he did against Port Adelaide. And hopefully he can continue that into the Essendon game. And, obviously 100 games notched up, and, he leaves on good terms. I don't begrudge him. I would be probably more pissed off if we didn't have the development of Hudson O'Keefe. But yeah, I mean, we're going to be losing a very talented player here. But again, he's got to think of his personal life as well, and not just his on-field football prospects and whatnot. So all the very best to you, TDK. But we'll speak about that, of course, next week once we wrap up round 24. So in terms of the summary, I mean, there were other guys as well that really did stick out, that had nice passages of play as well. Flynn Young was another guy as well. And his bullet passes inside forward 50, I reckon, is going to be a massive feature in 2026, and such an underrated skill set, because I can't think of another player that has that ability to pinpoint passes like that on, such consistent basis. Really, Walsh, he can do it at various stages. Cripper, probably less often than not, but yeah, it was just a real good sight to see. So there was a whole host of really nice, promising signs. Billy Wilson did some nice things as well. I spoke of Hudson O'Keefe. There was a whole host. Frankie Evans, 2 goals, 1 again, continuing to impact the scoreboard, and his tackle pressure is really top notch. So he's continuing to put the egg on my face, which is incredible. Keep it going, good old Frankie boy, and just great to see you grasp an opportunity with 2 hands, and more importantly, have that consistency week after week, because that was what was missing in your game. No, it's all well and good to go back to the VFL and perform well, but to then come in at AFL level and not perform and get dropped again, it wasn't really conducive. But it's just great to see that you're getting a bit of an opportunity further a bit more now, and taking that with both hands. But a really, really, really good game across the board there. So I guess just in summary, without we don't want to make this this review go on for ages, but I suppose we'll just quickly go to Willow ratings before we summarise. But just wanted to highlight these 2 things here: stoppage, turnover. We kicked 8 goals, 4 via stoppage, and 9 goals, 6 via turnover. So again, turnover was a big thing, because our tackling pressure and pressure rating was off the board, off the charts. And stoppage-wise, I think our midfield really worked well. That inclusion of Walshy just, it added a different layer to us, and that speed, outside speed that we know we have needed for a long, long while. And Walshy is a very, very key cog to all of that. Now, I just want to quickly have a look at player ratings. So Harry was rated the best. No surprise there, 7 goals. Zachy Williams as well played a pretty good game. Had some time in the middle as well, and actually had an impact in the middle. So I didn't really mind that as such. And Walshy as well, I want to really highlight him. 28 disposals in 66% game time, and He had, what was it? He had goal assists. I wanted to look out, score involvement, sorry. Nine score involvements, which puts him up there as the best player behind Harry, of course, being, our focal point up forward, kicking the 7 goals, 15 score involvements. But Walshy, limited game time, 9 score involvements. That's just craziness. That is just insane. So a great sight to see there. We'll quickly go through team stats as well, as we always do. Disposals-wise, you can see the massive discrepancy there. 69 ding difference there in disposals between both teams, and just really showed that we had such dominance with the footy and precision passing as well. As I spoke about, moving the ball with speed when needed to really expose Port Adelaide, especially on turnover, and then being patient with the football and maintaining possession as well. So great to see there. Inside 50s, a massive shellacking, 65, which was well above our season average, and almost, not quite double, but, edging towards almost double figures there in terms of the discrepancy and difference there. Disposal efficiency, 76%, which is way off the charts compared to what we normally average, which is 70.3. And Port Adelaide struggling, as we spoke about in the preview episode. Our disposal efficiency for average for both Port and Carlton, very, very similar, as you can see there. But on the day, almost, 5.1% better in our favour, which is great to see. Efficiency inside 50 is actually in Port's favour, so credit to them there. Hit-outs, I spoke about us conceding the hit-outs, which TDK kind of does anyway. Wasn't a massive discrepancy, which is good to see. But despite conceding hit-outs, we won the clearances, 11 to the good. And centre clearances there, 12 in our favour. And, obviously Port got the other one there in stoppage. Contested possessions-wise, this speaks to the dominance there. We had 36 more contested possessions and uncontested possessions as well. We had almost 40, so 39 more uncontested. Turnovers, we had 2 more actually than Port Adelaide. Marking-wise, we've been averaging more, as you can see there, as I spoke about in the preview. We outmarked them 93 to 79. Marks inside 50, 18 to 16, which is well above our season average. And contested marks, 7 more virtually, or 6.5 more than our season average, which is crazy. Just showed the dominance in the air. And scoring-wise, 18 goals to Port's 9, and we were both even on behinds. Tackles-wise, this is something they spoke about during the broadcast as well on replay as I was watching it, and they said that we weren't tackling as much. I think we had maybe 1 tackle in the third quarter, but that probably speaks to our dominance. We had the ball in our hands so much, as we can see here, disposals-wise, that, you're not going to be tackling when you don't have the ball, but still, you'd want to see this a little bit higher, given our average has been a bit more than that. But I think it was that style of game where it was virtually keepings off. Port Adelaide just didn't have the effort, intent. They were virtually like how we played against them last time. They're just shot of all confidence and desire, I think. Tackles inside 50 is the big one, though. 16, well above our season average, and we kept Port to only 3, and again, probably speaks to the lack of desire. And then 1% is a really big one as well. Putting Shepherds on, Smothers, Spoils, everything else, it was a really, really great sight to see. 11 to the good there. So all in all, an incredible game by the Carlton Football Club, and just gives me supreme confidence going into the last game of the season. I didn't think we would win another game. This is going back, a month, 5-6 weeks ago. At that time, we were in such a rut that I didn't see us actually winning another game and maybe even losing against Essendon, who were virtually playing a VFL team because such is their injury list. But we are showing over this game and the last quarter against Gold Coast the ability to adapt to a different style, play with intent, play with desire, and freedom. Because I think, the shackles are off, the pressure's off as well, and I no doubt can say that, with Voss being, backed in, that there's some clarity across the board, across the football department, and that filters through down to the players as well. So, there's unity there, there's playing for each other, there's chemistry amongst the team, and all over. Just in summary, I know this is a Port outfit that virtually checked out, but, we can't take away the intense effort, belief, and, endless running for teammates, to provide an option all day. It's the best that we have played, as I mentioned earlier, since we smashed North Melbourne. And in the preview episode to this, I spoke about, bottling that last quarter effort against the Suns, unleashing it against Port Adelaide, and it seems like we did just that. So hopefully we can continue this form into the last game of the season against the Dons next week. So we'll see how things transpire there. So how did you rate our game? Let us know who stuck out to you below. Are there any particular passages of play as well that really, really caught your eye? Let us know in the comments section down below. And we will be back, of course, to preview the Essendon game. Round 24, last game of the home and away season. Then we hang up the boots for the season of 2025 and we tackle head-on the postseason side of things. Of course, there will be changes and changes will be made en masse as we have started to see with Brad Lloyd giving his marching orders. But the assistant coaching side of things, I expect that to happen over the next week or two. So tune in for that as well. We have a whole host of content to unleash in the postseason. So and before then, we will, of course, preview the Dons game, review it, and then jump into postseason. So until then, Baggers, all the very best, and we'll catch you then. Go Baggers.
Have you ever heard the MCG